Hey y'all, John Button Post here. Turns out there was an audio issue for this podcast. Cam's audio is really quiet for a 20-minute or so portion of the podcast. I've removed the majority of this section, but if you're interested in listening to the full thing, audio issues and all, I've put a Google Drive link in the podcast description.
I appreciate you being on this podcast with me every week, Cam.
Dave, okay. I appreciate you being here this week specifically.
I don't know what you're talking about. Pro music from TeamSpeak up again?
You have intro music from TeamSpeak?
Everyone hated it, but that's why I played it all the time.
Hi, and welcome to the West Australian Symphony Orchestra 2. Overheard and UniSFA.
Today we'll be playing most of the Pokemon themes that can actually be confused with Mozart. Look it up.
Wait, really? It can be confused with Mozart?
Is this converting Mozart to a MIDI or MIDIs to Mozart?
I'm John. Here's my buddy Cam.
Hi, I'm Cam.
And our guest for last week, Dave.
Our guest for last week is here. His name is Dave. He didn't turn up last week, so he's here now.
Oh.
We've had to kill this week's real guest, Doug.
Goodbye, Doug.
We wish.
Yeah, no, he's
Doug,
finally
shut
gone.
Well, I arrived fashionably late.
Oh, that's fine. We couldn't have done it any earlier.
1 week on the dot. How's everyone's week been?
I've had a fucking nightmare of a week.
Has it been more malicious?
The internet at work hasn't worked since Thursday night.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned this.
And I've had to go to the Optus store in person twice, and both times they've told me to fuck off after I've been told to go there.
The Optus store? Why do they have an in-person store?
I don't know. It's not my well, it is my
feel
problem,
like,
but
yeah,
it's not
I
a
feel
problem
like,
I care about.
I feel like I don't really like their mobile. All their products are just waves, right? And they can just mail you the things that get those waves, and you can just.
I mean, in theory, getting them from a store would be faster than having it mailed to us. But
True. I guess it's you want to talk to a real
Depends
person instead of like a wavelength that is imitating a person on the phone. But anyway,
Optus suck my balls.
You're just going there and they're just telling you to fuck off. So
yeah, I know they're sponsoring the podcast and everything, but go to hell.
No, they're not. We are not sponsored by Optus. We are sponsored by
Telstra.
God, I wish we were sponsored by Telstra.
God, I wish we were sponsored by anybody.
No, it would actually make a lot of our lives difficult.
Why?
Because then we'd have to worry about things.
If
Telstra offers unsurpassed broadband network everywhere in the country.
If they're sponsoring us, then they know what they're in for. And if they cut the sponsor, then we're just back to week one. But
in any case, we're having a great start this week.
We're having a great start. Dave, do you want to... I don't know how many people who listen to this podcast will know who you are, because until I got into an RPG game with you and basically just heard Cam's tales about you, I didn't know who you were. Do you want to, when were you in Cam Hall? What did you do here? When did you leave?
The ages of Cam Hall.
Right.
Or was it the golden ages, depending on who you ask?
Dave was technically a UWA student longer than I was until recently.
Yes.
The black gold, the oil ages, because it was dark, like the color black, and it was gold.
I think it was the nano machines age.
So I had the fortune.
What are we at now? The information age.
Joining Cameron Hall shortly after Cam did, probably in his wake.
I dragged you kicking.
If you joined a bit earlier, they would have called it the Dave Hall.
Yeah.
The Daverin Hall. Daverin Hall?
Through conquest.
through enough people becoming Dave Strider kinnies.
Oh, look, if we haven't already hit that point, I don't think we're going to.
No, I mostly lurked around in a few games, often run by Cam and a couple of other people in uni games.
That's me, I'm Cam.
I also spent a little bit of my first year lurking around UCC, playing a couple of games when it was a gaming club.
Yeah, back when it was a den of inequity, and by inequity I mean video games.
Yes.
You will find no more wretched hive of scum and villainy than in there.
Wretched hive of scum and video.
Wretched hive of scan and video.
I was also one of the major problems in the Hearts of Iron Land.
Oh God, let's not.
Let's not what, Cameron?
No, the first Hearts of Iron Land was really cool in several ways and really fucked up in another way, but let's not get into that one.
I've heard the stories of this, and it was fucked up in some ways. that are...
It was a lot of fun to just get a whole fucking loft full of people playing the World War II simulator together and just having, like, fucking diplomacy over warfare happen in real time.
I was one of the ones lucky enough to
Know what the fuck you were
know how to
doing?
play the game, but not know what I'm doing. In that I wasn't experienced enough to be able to judge strategic circumstances, merely flat.
Dave's full-time job was bailing me out of dumb bullshit that I would get myself into, so I was playing as Yugoslavia from memory.
So you were like Cam's dad, basically.
Oh,
Sort of.
I was Mussolini, so I was in it for the memes.
Yeah. I was
The
playing as
meme Salini.
Yugoslavia and basically got into a war with Greece that I should have been able to trivially win, but I wasn't very good at it. So Dave bailed me out of that war, gave me a light tank division that was my best unit for the rest of the game, and then later on when I put all of my forces on one boat and sent them on a long looping voyage to Ireland, he bailed me out of that problem too.
I think we actually succeeded in taking
Yes,
England with that.
yeah, we did, yeah. No, it was my beachhead that did it. I get to claim that I caused that.
Operation
To be fair,
Sea Lion was possible.
Stuart got fucked over. He was playing as England very early on when war was declared. Our whole faction had already planned, like, alright, the moment war is declared, we fucking bomb the shit out of Malta. Because we know that's where the British Navy is. And because we were fucking morons who hadn't done this before, we didn't know that usually in like, grand strategy multiplayer, if war is declared or something like that happens, you fucking slow the game timer down. Because, you know, you're running on, like, 4 times speed a lot of the time to be like, alright, getting to the fun part, right? So yeah, war was declared with no hesitation. Malta and therefore the entire British Navy is fucking removed.
Oh, a fair bit of it.
That was actually I think my biggest real contribution to the war because I had a bombing base right next to him. But yeah, the British Navy it never recovered.
No, I didn't.
Poor guy. Did you hear about the Oxford Word of the Year? Fuck. You spoil. I was gonna read out the whole thing. I was going to say, the Oxford Word of the Year is a word or expression that has attracted a great deal of interest over the last 12 months.
Could you give us the definition?
Every year, we debate candidates for Word of the Year and choose a winner that is judged to reflect the ethos, mood, or preoccupations of that particular year and to have lasting potential as a word of cultural significance. Oxford Word of the Year 2022, Goblin Mode.
What is the definition of Goblin Mode?
What is the definition of Goblin Mode? Apparently there's 300,000 votes over 2 weeks. Goblin Mode, a slang term often used in the expressions in Goblin Mode or to go Goblin Mode, is a type of behaviour which is unapologetically self-indulgent, lazy, slovenly, or greedy, typically in a way that rejects social norms or expectations. Although first seen on Twitter in 2009, Goblin Mode went viral on social media in February 2022, quickly making its way into newspapers and magazines after being tweeted in a mocked-up headline. The term then rose in popularity over the months following as COVID lockdown restrictions eased in many countries and people venture out of their homes more regularly. Seemingly, it captured the prevailing mood of individuals who rejected the idea of returning to normal life or rebelled against the increasingly unattainable aesthetic standards and unsustainable lifestyles exhibited on social media. The Oxford Corpus lists many vivid examples of Goblin Mode, including, Goblin Mode is like when you wake up at 2 a.m. and shuffle in the kitchen wearing nothing but a long t-shirt to make a weird snack, like melted cheese on saltines, as quoted in the Guardian newspaper. More recently, an opinion piece in the Times stated that too many of us have gone Goblin Mode in response to a difficult year.
Far longer than that.
The people are too much in Goblin Mode. We need to go back. We need to go to Orc Mode. You know, Urukai Mode, even.
Never go full orc.
Oh god. Fucking. Well, I mean, I think in Shadowrun, all the fantasy races were spawned through goblinization, which is a process that humanity underwent. Like where everything's a goblin of some sort. Elves are goblins.
I skim read the book shortly. I can't tell you.
Oh, look, I've never played Shadowrun.
People are embracing their inner goblin, and voters choosing Goblin Mode as the word of the year tells us the concept is likely here to stay.
Honestly, it sounds like Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah, it's the same thing,
It can
public
be.
vote, except this is like, maybe...
Oh,
This is like better. It's less funny,
this
but
one's
it's like
debated,
cooler.
right? It's not chosen through public vote entirely, is it?
No, I think it was.
Oh, I think the candidates were chosen by public vote, but then like
Oh, maybe.
debated because it sounds like there was like discussion, right? it was like deemed worthy of putting on the poll, or it was debated afterwards. Pure public vote is, you're right, complete bullshit. Things that are funny will win when they really shouldn't.
Oxford. Previous words have included Vax 2021, Climate Emergency 2019, and Selfie 2013. What was the other 6 years between Selfie and Climate
2020
Emergency?
2020 was
They're probably
COVID.
boring words.
Yeah. What were
2020 was COVID. I believe one of them was non-binary.
they? Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. There's a few. There's a word a year.
What is the twist?
Word of the
It's a
year.
pity that we can't have more than one word get added per year, but that's how it is.
Oh, don't worry, we've got plenty of time to add more.
Yeah, it's all right. God, where was I? It's fine.
Word of the year. Word of the year. Word of the year. Oxford. Word of the year. No, we're doing this. Okay. You know what? You'll wanna.
Just gonna read out word of the years for us, bud.
Oh boy. It appears one of our hosts is
Sorry,
suffering mental breakdowns. Please wait
Sorry.
as he
The
recovers.
2015 word of the year. No one could have guessed what the 2015 word of the year was. Oh my god.
Snork.
No. You cannot guess it.
Waifu.
No, no.
Milk.
Oh, they have a UK, a US, and a...
Alright, what's the word of the year, John?
Okay.
You can't do this. You
Okay. We're
can't
going to
not
go
tell
through
us.
each year.
Oh my god, you son of a bitch.
We're going back to 2004. I want you to guess what the UK word of the year was.
Pokemon.
No. Dave?
In it.
Closer.
Which year?
2004.
4. Oh wow.
UK.
I was 2.
Sam?
What was I saying when I was 2? No, I was saying Chav.
Chav? Yeah, alright.
2005. Lightning round, come on.
Frog.
I'm gonna try and think of
We
a
can't
word.
get this right, Dave.
Sudoku.
how many words
the
they
US
make
word
every
was
year?
podcast.
Oh, yeah, alright.
Yeah,
Wow,
2006.
2005, huh?
it's a word they come up with. You can't just say a random noun.
2000.
That's how words come up all the time, man.
I love the 2006 UK word of the year.
Yeah, but you can't say a random noun that's been around for 100 years.
Yeah,
Golden Mode
yeah,
was
you
announced in
can.
2009. It's just that's a big word that year.
All right, well then.
No, yeah, some of these are.
I'll admit frog wasn't my best guess, but I'm happy with it.
thought you
In
were
2006,
crabs, to
the
be
US word of the year was carbon neutral, and the UK word of the year was bothered.
Bothered with V's.
Yeah, BOVVERD.
bothered about that.
In 2007, UK was carbon footprint, US was locavore.
What's a locavore?
Let's find out.
Sounds like
Welcome
someone
to
who, like,
the
really
Wiki-
fucking travels
A
a
food
lot.
that is produced within a short distance of where it is consumed.
God, that's
Oh,
not-
it goes to the Wikipedia page for local food. So I think it's just a person who eats food near where it's made.
yeah, all right.
'Cause
Okay, so you only eat local food.
By American.
2008 US word of the year was hypermilling, and the UK word of the year was credit crunch.
Hypermilling is a Magic the Gathering word, I assume.
I didn't think no.
No,
oh,
I was talking
no,
about
it's
Magic.
hypermiling. Sorry.
Oh fuck! You've just trapped me there. Now I
Uh-huh.
sound like a nerd for no reason. I didn't even make a joke out of it.
Credit crisis. Yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense.
credit
Yeah,
crunch
2008.
2008.
Yeah.
In 2009, the US word of the year was unfriend. Can you guess what the 2009 year of the UK word of the year was? It's
Friend.
from an advertisement.
iPod.
No. It's an advertisement that's still around today.
Keep calm and
It's insurance.
meerkat.
Close?
Market.
No, it was Simples.
What?
Simples.
Simples?
Simples. Like the compare the meerkat
I've never
catchphrase.
heard that word before.
You know,
my
in
life.
the ads for that one insurance, the meerkats go Simples.
Yeah, how often do we watch these ads these days?
I haven't watched an advertisement
little
that's
as
stuck
possible.
in my brain in like 20 minutes.
In 2010, US word of the year was refugiate. 2010, the UK word of the year was big society.
Big society? Someone get the Joker on this
We-
problem.
There's nothing.
Wow,
There's
this
nothing
has gotta
funny
be
about big society,
society's
and that's what we
doing.
should bring.
Forget big government. I'm sick of big society.
We didn't
implying
have-
I should be better.
We didn't
Return
have
to
big
monkey.
society
Yeah.
until 2010. We only had little society.
Jesus Christ.
Everything
big
was so
society.
simples before big society.
So
Carbon footprint into Credit Crunch into Simples into Big Society.
God, I sure do live in a big society.
In 2011, they had a same word of the year, which was squeezed middle. Also, a bunch of these are multiple words.
yeah, I'm honestly doubting them.
Well, it's not like it's an official, like, okay, it's an official thing that they do, but it's not binding in any way.
Yeah. Also, a lot
like
of
the Nobel
different
Prize.
dictionaries do words of the year. In 2012, the U.S. word of the year was GIF
Yeah, right?
or GIF. If you're fucking that person.
When they say, is cryptocurrency in it?
Oh, I'm sure it is.
No.
Really? Huh.
The thing is,
Bitcoin?
Surely Bitcoin won a year.
It should have.
no.
Good.
In the 2012 UK word of the year was omnishambles,
Oh, yeah, all right.
which is a good word. What does it mean?
All right, come on, man. Just hit me with 2015. I gotta know.
2013 was selfie for both. 2014 was vape for both.
Vape? That was 2014, all right.
It did sort of come around, didn't it?
Yeah.
2016 post
old
truth. 2017.
Why, you're gonna skip 2015,
yeah, I gotta
son
leave.
of a
I gotta
bitch.
leave. 2017 was youthquake. 2018 was toxic. I'm pretty sure that song came out a long time before 2018. 2019 was climate emergency. Though I would
Again.
like to say that carbon neutral and carbon footprint were the words of the year in 2006, 2007. So we made great progress, guys. 2020 there was no word. 2021 was vax,
Well,
and
carbon neutral
2022
by
was goblin
20,
mode.
All right, John, what was 2015?
The 2015 word was not a word. It was the face with tears of joy emoji.
I do love that one.
It was the crying, laughing emoji.
Oh,
I am
that's
so
son of a bitch.
2015 year of the
That
wording
is such a
right.
2015 word of the year.
2015, nothing that bad actually happened.
No,
Nothing
exactly,
that
right?
happened.
But emojis got really big.
I'm a big fan of
Remember
the
the
fact
Emoji
it went
movie?
it went
That was not
selfie.
2015.
no,
it-
but it was after 2015
it
because
went-
of how big emojis got.
Oh, okay.
Cam, it went selfie, vape, face with tears of joy, post truth.
Woo, boy.
We really fell off a cliff there.
So that's just the Oxford Dictionary,
It went
right?
yes, selfie,
Alright.
vape, face with tears of joy with 3 years. The following 4 years were post truth, youthquake, toxic, and climate emergency.
Not fake news.
No, there was no fake news.
All right,
just
but
post
you know,
truth.
you guys do know who is at fault, who we can blame for this.
Was it the youthquake? Is that what the fault is? Get
man.
it?
This is all
earthquake.
because
fault.
of big society.
Big society.
Oh,
agenda.
I'm so faced with tears of joy.
Big Society is
Unicode
actually
U
about
plus
that, like,
1F602
that group of like
part
bodybuilders
emoji.
that live in the model city, the little miniature one. You get to feel really large.
I'm sorry that I saved 2015 to last. I'm sure I'm sorry if I got you a bit bothered.
Bother.
Bothered. Oh,
Well, we
this
always
went
knew you were a bit of
goblin
a
mode.
scav.
It was Chav, Dave.
Chav. Sure, scav is better.
Yeah, I'll take it. So yeah, what have you been up to, lads?
I've been playing. I got a new controller for my PC at home because I had an Xbox 360 controller, but the D-pad is a little fucked, and it means I can play fighting games, not feel shit because the D-pad is not picking up my inputs properly. So I've been playing a bunch of Guilty Gear Strive, which I played in the club room a bit.
A
but
bad
now I can
carpenter
finally.
blames his D-pad.
No,
Skill-
it like
skill
really
issue.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would go into the training mode. I'd be okay. Down, then left, and then it would go. It would like spring from left to up.
No, Dave's right. That's a skill issue, dude.
That's a skill issue.
Okay, one.
You just got to get better at video games.
I
man.
am so good at video games. I will literally beat you in Guilty Gear right after this.
Maidenless.
People have actually succeeded in Maidenless Run.
Yeah, it can be done. People have always taken Souls-like games and been like, I'm going to just fuck around.
Yes. I mean,
But you know what? There is nothing more maidenless in behavior than a
So
maidenless run.
fighting games, you're talking as Dark Souls-esque or more along the lines of
Oh, no, no,
I'm
Dark
talking
Souls-
like
Capcom
I'm
versus
talking I'm
Dragon
talking
Ball
like
Z. Okay.
Street Fighter,
Street
that
Fighter.
kind
I
of
was just
thing.
calling
Guilty
it
Gear
maidenless.
Strive came out like a couple years ago,
Okay.
and it's like it's a hot new fighting game that
was
I've been
this year?
playing. No, it wasn't this year.
Really?
Yeah, this
It
is
got big this
season
year?
2. Yeah, it's been getting a
Ah,
lot
season
bigger
2.
this year, or at least it's a lot easier for us to see. I've seen it on. I only discovered
Because
its
Joe
existence
Biden
this
plays
year.
it.
Well, no, Joe Biden plays the old Guilty Gears.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
I've seen a bunch
his son's
of.
laptop, right?
Yeah, no, yeah. There's no, it's for real one of the biggest Guilty Gear players in the world.
Not
just goes
one
by
of
Joe
like
Biden.
yeah, he just goes by Joe Biden. Listen to episode
1 or 2. It's pretty early on.
No, it wasn't.
No, I did. Hear
was
about
like-
yeah.
It was like episode 14, Freaky Friday Joe Biden edition.
So have you left
Man, I don't
training?
know anything,
so,
man.
so the question is, have you left training mode yet?
I have left training. I played my first online matches yesterday.
How badly did you lose?
No, actually, I played my first online matches today. Less badly than I expected.
Nice.
I
Good for you,
won.
man.
I found this one guy. He was clearly better than me, but not better enough that he would stop every game, and I won like
Nice.
1 out of 6, and the
That's
others
good,
were
that'll
like
teach you.
somewhat competitive.
So the game has been out for a couple of years, right?
Yeah, it's been out for like 3 years.
Yeah, that's the problem with the older games is that there's
They're not. It's
Anyone
not old.
sticking
This is like
around
one of
is
the newest
nightmarishly
fighting
good.
games.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had the same problem with War Game.
I think
Oh, I
that's just,
bet.
yeah. It's like most multiplayer competitive games.
It's like I would love to get into like fucking Melee, but it's not only like hundreds of dollars to get a setup that's not dog shit for Melee now because you need to get a controller with a specific glitch, and people who play Melee have grabbed as many of those as they can.
Why did you go for Brawl?
yeah, just
Brawls
go for
are-
Brawl,
okay,
bro.
so you want to get into this?
Why not?
It
You're
turns
just
out
gonna
there's
roll.
a- there's- so-
Just play Meta Knight, bro.
I did learn to play in Brawl. Like I learned to be
Yeah.
okay at Smash Bros in Brawl. Melee is faster. Like the movement is drastically different.
Okay.
Like there's a reason that Brawl doesn't have a big scene now, but Melee does.
Dave, were you
It's-
joking or not? Were you being sarcastic or not?
No, it was serious. It was a fair question, to be fair.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the one we started playing. And
Yeah.
No,
it'd be
the-
cheaper
No,
to
Brawl,
get a-
Brawl added random trips. So sometimes in Brawl, right, your character will just fucking trip over if you're sprinting.
particularly if you're Luigi.
Yeah.
Brawl,
Which is not good for a competitive environment.
No.
From my far more layman's perspective, Brawl was what I've heard is that Brawl was like the bad Smash Bros that wasn't competitive at all. So
Yeah.
it seems like people now either play like Melee or Ultimate.
Yes, people play Melee or the newest one.
Yeah.
And people, whenever the new one does something Melee-like, people go, woohoo, yeah!
I like the new one because I can play Steve from Minecraft, and that's still
pretty
really
dope, right?
funny to me. Also, apparently, he's actually like a really good character competitively, and he's also very annoying to play because you have moves that can like just force people to run off a map or just like spam hit them so they can't move.
Yeah.
So it's always a good time. My favorite is that his fucking like, what's it? His like Super Smash, his Ultimate Smash.
Ultimate, yeah.
Yeah, is hey, I am knocking you inside a Minecraft door. You're being sent to Minecraft. You are now in a small stone. It like cuts to footage of Minecraft of being in like a stone like building. Then creepers come, blow up, and then it cuts to the shot of like literally like Minecraft footage of this stone building with like in a swamp being blown up, and Steve eats a pork chop while facing the camera.
You've seen the comments about how horrifying Steve is.
Yeah, he's fucking terrifying. It's great.
He's the new villager. I do love that they had to change Steve's victory pose because he's holding a little bit of fucking pork chop in his hand, and so in the victory pose he's holding it at about this height, and I think you can guess which height he's holding his little pork chop at. He's got a little bit of meat sticking out down there, and they actually had to change it. It was really funny. Dude had he had his dick out in the victory pose. Like
Steve is not afraid to get his cock out on camera.
it's down there now.
Dominant symbol.
Yeah. Oh, he knows he's won.
I think one of the victory animations that plays is he just like it's nothing there and then he just drops down suddenly in front of
Yeah.
you or something. I remember them be so funny. Also, you can play as the Enderman. Like there's an Enderman skin, but it doesn't change the model, so he's just small.
Yeah.
He's just short.
Stubby.
More on playing Guilty Gear Strive of I versed this one guy who's playing a character I've seen a lot of people complain about online, and I managed to beat him in like the best of 3, beat him the first match.
Nice.
Like, oh, what's the deal? This guy seems alright. And then the second match was not the same, and the third match he managed to kill me without me landing a single hit on him.
Me whenever I play any kind of fighting game.
Yeah, it's like that.
That's a very specific set of skills you have to learn.
You get really thrown in the deep end as well.
But yeah, that one is an ongoing support game, so it is still like you can
Yeah,
join it.
they
for another
released a new
players.
character, like just like last month, like this month even.
You know, it's weird. Like I've been working more this year than usual.
You've been
for me.
working.
And so I've gotten bad at video games again. I at my peak was I would say pretty
Your
good at video
peak.
games.
Your peak.
my peak for me, right? Like in the Destiny, at least, I was like getting good enough at PvP that I was like,
You could have like a 1.0 kill streak. Yeah.
I was fucking pulling numbers, man.
1.15.
No, it was like it was
1.155.
All right. No, like I was at the point where I would consistently be 3v1ing.
Ooh,
Yeah.
sheesh.
Like I would die 50% of the time in a 3v1.
But the other 50%.
But that's the thing, I would die after killing 2.
Yeah.
That's a fucking good trade. Sometimes it's fun to just rush down motherfuckers, and hand cannons feel good to use. But I'm just bad at video games now.
You've regressed to a state of being able to have a job and have money, but also being bad at video games.
I will admit, after not playing War Thunder for 2 months, I'm suffering again.
Oh god, that's the only way I play War Thunder, is that every couple of months or so, every few months,
Don't I drag you into it?
Oh, every couple of months you'll offer it at a time where I'm like, yeah, I've been thinking about fucking vehicles. And I'll play War Thunder for a fucking like a couple of weeks, and I'll be like, God, this is why I don't fucking play War Thunder. I would love to play that game with the economy not a nightmare. Like, and the balance, I suppose.
Yeah.
But that can be fixed. The economy can't be fixed at this point. They don't want it to be fixed. It is what it is for a reason.
No, it's getting worse.
Yeah. They're in the burning themselves down stage, I think.
Oh, it's
except
like
that
Wizards
it will
of the
never
Coast.
die. No, I think it will. Yeah, Wizards. Oh man, Wizards. Dave, you've never gotten into Magic, and
No.
that's fair enough. There's a lot to know. I might be able to get you into a dumb like printed card meta at some point.
Hey,
where
do you want a free deck? I've got like 6.
Well, are you one of those people who sits in the street corners like, hey kid, do you want to play Magic?
Well, so it's a doomed game now. Just recently they released a 4-pack of boosters, which costs $1,000.
Did they have a change in management recently?
No, it's just that Wizards of the Coast has been really fucking on there. Oh, sorry,
They were
Hasbro's
bought
really
by
been on their
Hasbro at
ass.
some point.
But yeah, it's
But that was a while ago, I think.
they've been giving too much stuff. So there's been too many releases of too many different things.
Hey, Cam, you like that new Commander product?
Yeah, they've been.
This is where you say which fucking one.
Yeah, I literally was thinking which fucking one, which is why I didn't answer. But so that they've been pushing a lot of like meta strength. Like it's been power creeping pretty hard. But so it's culminated recently in something that has just nobody has liked this. Where they were like, all right, so you know the Power 9, Dave? Do you know about the Power 9? For those of you who don't know, back in Magic's original couple of what were they called? Fucking sets.
Sets.
Right, so there was the alpha and beta sets. You could get some cards that were immediately discovered to be fucking bananas, right? So you've got your Moxen, which are little gems. They cost nothing, and they tap mana for free, and they're artifacts. That's great. You want those in any deck they can go in.
There's almost no downside.
There is no downside. It's just free because you can play it with a land.
I mean,
it's
kind of just an extra land on turn.
But
the downside is that
the downside
it's a card.
Yeah, but
There's
it's
always
better
that
than a land
downside.
in every way, almost every way. And like the Black Lotus, which is a 0-mana artifact that taps for 3 mana and sacrifices itself, but that's bananas. That's like incredible value.
You get one. You start with one. Theoretically, you start with 1 mana on turn 1, 2 mana on turn 2, 3 mana on turn 3. So either on turn 1 you're getting to 4 mana. You're skipping 4 turns ahead for a turn, or like on turn 3 you're doubling your mana for a turn.
So like even in the most fucked up format in Magic the Gathering, where literally all cards are allowed almost, the Power 9 are limited one-offs. You can get 1 Black Lotus in a deck. And that's in the vintage format, which is for fucking around and doing dumb shit with the Power 9.
Because it's like
they're
every
also not
card
allowed to reprint them. So, because they tried it a while back, and the people who had been collecting for a few years were like, oi, this is going to make the cards we have worth less, and we will sue you.
By the way, a while back was like 30...
It was
not 30 years,
ago.
because that's how long it's been. But it was like
10 years into
it
the
was
game.
like in the very...
Yeah.
It was in the earlier
first 10 years
stages.
or so, right?
Yeah, the game.
And so they're not allowed to print them anymore. And it's always been a thing that's off the cards. They can never reprint the Power 9.
They
right?
didn't make a binding contract to say they can't print
No.
them, but they made like a...
Well, they've always been really inconsistent about it. Like,
Yeah,
they've been
it's-
we can't print proxies of it even, right? So
It's one of those
nothing.
things which is super contested of like,
And
can they, can't
it makes
they?
vintage hell to get into because it's a format where it costs $10,000 for a Black Lotus in like shit condition. Well, in passable
In
condition.
possible. Yeah.
They're collector's items, they're
And,
not
like,
cards at these
The
points.
Black Lotus itself is good enough that like it is in every deck. You have to work really hard to build a deck where it's not good, and at that point you've hurt yourself doing so, right? So they recently released a product
Blue
which is
Lotus.
the 30th edition. No, so it is a pack of 4 boosters, which are alpha boosters. So it's 16 cards per booster, random cards with like 1 rare and a couple of uncommons. The rare might be a mythic, whatever. And this is a $1,000 for those 4 boosters, where you don't have any guaranteed important cards, and these are not tournament legal cards. These do not have the Magic the Gathering card backing. They are specifically the 30th anniversary edition random boosters. So these are fucking not real.
They're literal. They're little bits of cardboard that like are.
They don't even have the fake value of, this is a piece of cardboard you can take to the cardboard guys and have cardboard times with them.
No.
This is just cardboard now.
And also, it upsets every side because the people who want you to like fuck off with your promise and reprint these so people can play them at reasonable prices, you can't play these
Well,
at
it's clearly, like,
prices,
the
and they're
point of
not
this-
they're not reasonable prices. And the people who like want you to not reprint them, you've kind of reprinted them now.
Yeah. And yeah, so
you've broken
at
your
$1,000 for
everything.
random boosters. This
Are they
is
actually
worthless
selling?
to everyone. No. The not only is
Didn't
it
they
too
sell out?
expensive. No. They stopped selling them after I think it was an hour or two. The numbers are like, there's a lot of discussion about this on the internet. Currently, it is assumed that I think it was officially 10,000 sets were printed. They sold just over 1,000 at best. It's bad, because not only like can most people just straight up not afford this, right? It's hard to justify, but the people who are like, people who buy up product in bulk to resell think it's a bad idea, because it hurts the economy long term as well for Magic. And basically anyone who can afford it generally thinks it's a bad idea anyway.
That's essentially money printing.
It's money printing even more than Magic
So,
the Gathering
the
is
thing with this
usually
is
money printing.
It's like, oh, it's got a chance of being the Power 9, which is their biggest selling point, is you might get the Power 9, and even though it's not a real card, it's rare. And even if not many of them sell, it's rare, but it's like, sure, but if you can do this, you can do this again. If you're able to do it now, it means that, and it goes well, you think Wizards isn't going to fucking print this exact thing again? If people will buy it? No. They'll print it again. And everyone's already annoyed, like, they actually shut down their sales after a bit because it wasn't selling, and like said, the sale's over, they're not available anymore.
I'm reading an article which talks about how they specifically avoided saying the word sold out.
Yeah, because they had not. And I don't know, it's very rare that you fuck up enough that a community of people who like to spend money on a product stop spending money on the product.
It's not even the
Granted-
product. It's
Well,
not
yeah,
even
it's
the
not
product.
but like that's the thing, right?
It's basis of like fucking
It's
worthless stuff that are made by the same people.
It's a perfect storm of worthless stuff, though, right? At a time when their reputation was already doing pretty badly because they've been like throwing the Magic the Gathering IP away to. So there are now tournament legal Magic cards from 40k, from from all kinds of like
From
side
unsets
products.
as well.
From unsets. Well, unsets is actually, that was fine.
Are they well balanced?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Granted, Standard's not been well balanced in a couple of years, from what I hear.
Last time.
I don't know. It's all a bit of a mess. Like the 40k Commander decks, limited run release, some fucking cool cards in them.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I've
wanted
played
to
with
get
them a
one of
bit, 'cause
those,
Jack's
but
got the
then
full
I
set.
kind of I kind of forgot about it for a bit, and I look them up now, and they're fucking like so expensive.
The issue being like having the four Commander decks from 40k and having those in a household where you can be like, all right, let's play the 40k Commander decks against each other. They're pretty reasonably balanced against each other, and that's a fun time. Those are all legal Commander cards and legal in like the big powerful formats.
So how is Commander Boreal at defeating his enemies?
Oh Christ, I would love to build a Commander Boreal deck. That sounds fun as hell. So the thing is that it's now reached the point where it's like you can't keep up with the cards you need to have a good Commander deck, right?
Also, the whole I feel like in the community there's a lot more
It's
like good
burnout.
commander deck is something which is thought of a lot more. Like the
I
the existence of
broke finally and
EDH
started
Rec
making
and
my own proxies for like, fuck it, I'll just print a vintage deck,
yeah.
test it out.
I'd be so down.
Yeah.
Play Vintage.
Send-
But the
send me a
existence
deck,
of
let's print it out.
like EDHREC, which is a site where you can look up
Yeah,
like
net
popular
decking is
Commander
harmful.
cards, and also just the bigger prevalence of Commander and Commander YouTube channels and whatnot. I feel like it's becoming a more
Well, it's a solved format almost. in that
it's becoming a lot more of a solve format. Yeah, it's becoming a more uniform format.
Also, the thing is, it's
and a
becoming a
more
format that
powerful
they
format.
market, right? So
Yes.
Commander was originally Elder Dragon Highlander. It was something judges did in their spare while they were bored, right? Which is great because they're making things for fun for themselves. So the whole thing with Magic the Gathering is normally you've got your deck of cards, small deck, 4 of each card that's in it, quick games. This is built for 100 card decks, no 2 of the same card except for basic lands. You've got a commander that you can always play, and it's built for doing weird interactions and having a fun time.
And just using what cards you got.
And just using what cards
and
you've got,
high
right?
variance because there's 100 cards and there's
Yeah. I got into Commander just as it was, in my opinion, at its peak, where it was like, oh, there's
what
some,
year?
there's some fun
What
cards.
did you get into?
I have
then?
no idea what time.
I got into
anymore.
Commander like 2018 or so.
But I like
so
to
this
build-
was
We've
like
been here since 2013.
I've been here since 2012.
2012, yeah.
jeez.
But I built janky tribal decks. It's like, okay, I'm going to build a deck that's like the vampire deck that I started with is very strong, but I didn't build it to be strong. I actually made it in theory weaker. Because I'm like, no, I'm putting nothing in this that's not a vampire directly or directly relevant to vampires. No universally good support is allowed.
I
It
think
has to be
I think
vampires.
I'm one of the people that like shouldn't play Commander because I care too much about my favorite deck is the one that has the most tutors in it for me.
Oh, look,
And-
that's a fun thing to do. It's a different scale, right?
Yeah,
But the issue is now, it would be several $100s now for me to get my Vampires deck up to what would be considered a standard level of play. I'm just not fucking
also,
doing
your
that.
Vampires deck was probably if it was the 2017 pre-constructed
Maybe?
deck. If it was, then it's probably super expensive by now. By
Oh,
the way.
yeah, no, sure,
Just
it would
letting
be,
you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think to conclude this discussion on Wizards
Sorry,
of the
yeah.
Coast and Magic, I think my conclusion is that Wizards of the Coast are making fuck tons more money off Magic every year than they are before, but they're burning through
all the goodwill and
community goodwill and
Sorry, yeah.
sentiment and hope
to finish
do
my
it.
thought on Commander, it's that because it's something they're marketing to now, they're printing better Commander cards on purpose, which means that Commander as a format needs to be that good. And so either people are going to stop giving a shit because they're not going to want to keep up with that forever, or they're going to not be it's just
There's
it's
going to be
die.
another format that comes around that is Commander too.
No, because the thing
Tiny
is,
Leaders is coming back. I'm
you know
telling
what else
you.
was much harder in 1993, I think it was, when Magic was released? Having a color printer that you could just fucking put 100 cards into.
Yeah, I mean they're printing cards that aren't tournament legal. Why can't
Yeah,
we?
that too. Sorry,
Uh.
I know this is not your thing, Dave, but it
We went a little goblin mode there. We went a little goblin mode. Okay,
At least
we weren't trying to bother ya.
War Thunder is doing this as well. I mean, War Thunder's been doing it much more blatantly for fucking since it started.
It's
Yes.
all.
God, War Thunder straight up broke a lot of my ability to enjoy some things this year. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play it again ever. This year was the one that hit me the most, where I was like, oh, they're really... Every time I get back into it, the economy's harder. It's not just the top end stuff's further away, which it is. It's that they've made it, the rewards worse all the way along.
Just stick enjoying playing World War II tanks. Don't worry about the rest.
Yeah, but even then, it's fucking thankless and unrewarding. This is the only game I know that has a problem with spawn camping that it just doesn't think about. There's no attempt to be yeah, we should probably find some way of stopping that. It's no, that's just how games end here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Also, bombers. I'm sick of them, man. I get that having anti-aircraft tanks in your tanks game is a cool thing, and I love playing them early on when it's
When they're the best
viable.
TDs.
You sound like a person who lived through a war and then they were at the next war, which had better technology, and they're like, goddamn bombers! I'm
seen
sick
some
of them.
shit.
I'm sick of these goddamn bombers. That's not how war's fought.
Oh no, it is. That's the thing. Bombers are really, really good. And boy, it's
There's a particular bomber with a
As-
particularly large bomb that is...
even the small
renowned.
ones, man. It's I'm playing in I like heavy tanks. I like tanks that are able to trade some fucking shots with other tanks. And there is dick fuck all interaction they have with an aircraft.
I'll have you know, I've shot a couple of aircraft down with my main gun.
And I haven't. We've all been there. It feels great. But how's your KD there compared to a bomber? Right? Whereas you can get into a bomber that you can earn pretty quick. You get a couple kills, you get in a bomber. You can pretty reliably get a couple of tank kills in a bomber. Like, if you learn how to use a quick bomber, very reliably.
What is the downside for being in a bomber?
There isn't one.
Fighters.
Well, fighters chase you, but like shit, man. You gotta fucking drop your bombs, go back to the airfield, and then like do it again.
What's the downside of being a fighter then?
Being a fighter is
you can shoot down other planes. You can't really affect them on the ground.
So it's also like you get revenge bombing where someone will die. If they've gotten a kill already, they get into a very small plane that has some bombs and fucking bombs you. And it's like, and they know where you are because they just got killed by you.
I see.
And
so,
this is a problem that they recently went, yes.
Let's make it worse.
Let's make it worse. Let's give fucking drones... Let's add drones to the game at high levels.
Drones?
Which are just cheaper aircraft. What if aircraft were more easy to get and more throwawayable?
You're even more sounding like a person who's been through old-timey wars and now is like, drones, that's cheating.
I miss old-timey wars. I've started to hit the Cold War and where I'm up to in that game, and it's like, this is getting worse. There's jets now.
Do you go through the stages of technology?
So especially
yes.
You do, yeah. So especially for the country I'm playing, where the anti-aircraft tank hasn't been updated since I think mid World War II, and I'm miles away from the next one. So there's jets now. There's jets where I'm up to. There's fucking helicopters, and so I'll be in a fucking tank. My tanks they're okay. The French suffer. I'm playing as France a lot because I like their fun designs. They do things that no one else does. But yeah, fuck, I can't do shit about aircraft at all.
Isn't
Sucks.
War Thunder supposed to be really accurate? Is that the thing? I assume the game cares about accuracy because its player base cares enough about accuracy to leak classified military documents.
So it
to
balances
correct it.
things in a few ways. So it's like, okay, so the French have autoloaders, which makes them very good, in theory. They also die to a wet sneeze.
Look, the French are armoring their tanks with the highest quality baguettes.
Yes. And they're firing some...
Very tasty for bombers.
Some high-pen baguettes out of their main guns. Granted, an incredible rate of fire.
High-pen baguettes that they make out of steel rather than wheat.
No, if they made them out of steel, we'd be doing some stuff here. The French have a cool... They go pretty fast, and they can fire fast, but they die to being shot at, and they don't have the best gun strength, which is fine. I make it work a lot of... Well, when I can. The issue being that that's all fine. Like, the balance there could be... The French could be bad there, right? They could be matched up against harder tanks to fight. I wouldn't mind that so much. What fucking irks me, Dave, is something called economic balancing.
They fixed a lot of that recently. They're not as expensive anymore.
Okay, because sometimes they'll be like, this tank's overperforming, and they'll just make it have a higher repair cost.
No, so
What?
the way War Thunder balances its vehicles is that they take the game...
Averages. Oh, yeah.
how the game... How they perform in battle. And then, depending on that, will either raise its battle rating or how much it costs to repair. This isn't how good a vehicle is. This is how it performs.
Which means that if a vehicle is okay and has a dedicated but good players play it, right? So sometimes tank. Sorry, you go, Dave.
There is a fantastic case of this, of a particular Italian jet that is mediocre at best when it was first introduced. And since it was on a tech tree where no one really went, no one would play it. And a whole bunch of good fighter pilots decided, let's have some fun. Let's see how high ranked we can get this vehicle to go. And so you got all the best fighter races jumping into this. A
lot of real pilots and vehicle drivers play this game.
One of my friends who was most into it in high school now drives tanks in the military.
It goes both ways as well.
Yeah, this mediocre jet, and decided to see how high they could get it. I think it's now near a top tier jet with a mediocre early 70s Italian jet that's now one of the highest ranked ones in the game.
And so
that's really
the
funny.
issue being now nobody else plays it, right? So if you're bad at the video game, which a lot of people are, you're not going to see this jet that is okay, I'm going to try to get this jet because apparently it's very good. You're going to play it and it sucks. So you're going to stop playing it immediately.
And then there's the flip side of that with, for instance, everyone wants to play Germany with their big cats. Often they'll play pretty poorly. which means
Everyone and their motherfucking dog wants to play the big German tanks.
So all the repair costs go
down, and so does the battle rating. So you end up having big cats up against. I think the Americans have some problems where they're
What factions are there in this?
pretty much most
of them at this point. Yeah, you've got your America, you've got your big ones from World War II. So you've got your Americans, your British created pretty late. So was France. You've got the big three is Germany, Russia, America were the first three. Since then they've added Britain, France, Japan, China,
Sweden,
Sweden was very recent and a very strange pick.
And Israel's
Israel's core now. That's right.
Interesting.
Israel doesn't have a start game. They start at like the mid ranks.
I wonder why.
Well, yeah, they didn't exist. But like, in terms of like, if you're starting the game, playing Israel is objectively.
You can't start
you can't?
Yeah.
Okay, because you start at like rank 5, which is nuts.
Yeah.
You just have to get.
It feels like it's
first?
it's a like one of those WoW heroic classes that you need to like get to
Yeah.
level 80 before you can play.
Yeah.
I love the idea of all these like top fighter pilots being like, boys, let's crack out the old
Let's pub
guns.
stomp.
Let's crack out the old guns and show them
Well,
what we can do.
'cause,
They
like,
roll out the shittest
The
jets.
fucking was when Sweden was dropped. The first time I played after that, I was playing with Dave, and I was like, "Hey Dave, let's try out the Swedish tanks." The biggest problem with them is apparently their repair costs are insane. They're just very expensive to play, and to the point where like the game is more viable to play as Sweden if you are paying for the premium the monthly premium account and spending cash to keep your cash reserves going in game, which that I hate as a concept, but
I hate that they're
first
like,
game in Swedish tanks. I got like 14 fucking kills in that one.
They're
In the
pretty
little
okay.
bastard. Yeah, they're nuts.
I hate that they're making you pay to
mid-tiers.
play the game.
Right?
I guess the
Well,
other
no, so
option
the
for
worst-
free-to-play games is either make you pay to play the game, which people hate, make you pay to get better at the game, to be better at the game, which people also hate, or pay to get cool cosmetics, which I feel like people would hate a lot in War Thunder.
So you'd be surprised.
bush.
Oh, the bush. So War Thunder has cosmetics you can buy, and a lot of it's like decorations or stickers and things you put in your tank. One of them is you can get little bits of shrubbery. So it turns out that covering the front of your fucking tank in leaves and shrubberies, it's pretty good actually, because they do that in real life. People can't fucking see you. There is a tank which it's
A couple of
literally a tier down from the next version of it because it doesn't have a machine gun port, and the machine gun port's a weak spot. So if you get the lower tier tank and you put the bush over the machine gun port, you are functionally pushing your tank up a half tier.
And those small tanks that are hard to spot covered in bushes, they're quite fun.
Yes. So like that's already a thing.
And you have to pay for these bushes.
the
Well,
issue-
technically, you can.
War Thunder is the game that taught me that the free-to-play model is actually a blight upon the Earth. And I used to be like a big believer in it because, hell, I got to experience it when it was like playable.
Yeah.
But it's now at the point where, so the issue is with the free-to-play model, right? Where you get like, okay, you can pay to go a little faster with your upgrades, right? That sounds fine, and I was okay with it. But the issue is that it incentivizes them to make it worse and worse. Because it's like, okay, we want people to buy the premium, like, product. So we need to push as hard as we can without making everyone just leave. We got to make it so that they've got to squeeze blood from the stone to get upgrades without premium. And it is... It's not good as a precedent.
I think I agree with you that
This is the most-
sucks. However, I think there are the free-to-play model in most games, or at least the most successful free-to-play games, are moving away from that.
I hope so.
I'm specifically thinking about like Dota, any game,
Well, yeah, Dota's always been pretty good
CS,
about it.
TF2, like any game made by Valve
the-
or Riot. These are like the biggest multiplayer games of the world. They're all free, and all the money is spent on cosmetics. League, you can buy champions. No one really does. I did once.
The
Don't
issue
ask me
being,
about
though,
it.
that it is like, it does make more money.
Yeah,
Like, it's their best money. Like, yeah.
Well-
it's,
You could make the same argument about EA and their sports games.
aren't those games like
They're the
just super like they're the same game every year, and then you have to spend like fucking trillions to get like packs to like get the best players and the best cards.
Things like that, yeah.
The one like League of Legends is you can download it for free and just play it,
yeah.
and it's the same game. Well, they update it, they provide like
Yeah,
pretty
like those-
regular updates, which
Yeah.
people hate because
You need
it's
to
a
be really
multiplayer
big
game.
to make that viable, though.
True. But
and
I
you-
think I know. I think just make a fucking better game, and then it'll be bigger.
Well, that's the thing. War Thunder is the best game of what it does. Partially because it's the biggest, right? Having a player base for a big multiplayer game like that, if you don't have that, it's not worth playing. And so because they're the biggest, it's very hard for anyone else to get into that market, which means that it is the best game almost by default.
Yeah.
Right? War of
You'd
the
have
Tanks used to
to-
be a competitor, but it shot itself in the dick.
They killed everyone I loved.
They did. No, they literally had this exact same problem. They went too far, and it died.
Jesus.
Well, not quite. Like
I guess-
they pushed a little too pay to win, right? From what I heard, or like nerfed a lot of things.
They were interested in having the game play in a certain way that wasn't fun for the majority of people.
Yeah,
I guess like Valve and Riot Games, because like Riot are making like way more games. Like they made League, which is all cosmetics basically, or you can buy some. You can buy champions, but as far as I know, no one really does. And they made Card Game, which is still also only cosmetics. I think originally, I don't know if it was this way, but anymore. But when it was released, they set a limit to the amount of money you could spend on like wildcards. So that there was like a weekly limit to the amount you could spend
that's
on the actual gameplay aspect. They set a limit to the amount you can spend each week. They've since removed that. They've removed that because like I don't know if you
because I'm
want.
guessing that psychologically that means that a lot of people were like, I have to spend that much every week.
Huh. Yeah, that kind of sucks. Actually, I don't know if anyone
I
was
don't know.
doing that.
That's my first concern. But
The-
like,
the game
I
is
know that
very
people-
free-to-play
Some
friendly.
people will do that.
Yeah, they're probably. I think they're making a
No,
fighting game.
League
and
is
it'll
very
probably
free to
be
play
the same.
friendly. I will
It's
admit.
probably-
And same with like Dota and
It
CS
could be
and
a
TF2. TF2 less.
due
so.
to regulatory constraints put
Oh,
upon them by
the loot box.
by the EU or China. They're often quite restrictive. on.
So
There are loot boxes in League, but they're kind of you only kind of get them for free. You can't
So-
like you can buy them, but why? You can buy every skin directly.
I think part of also when I started playing Magic a lot less was when I realized that if you're not drafting or doing a sealed league or something, a Magic the Gathering booster pack is just a loot box, man.
It is. It's just a loot
That's
box.
cursed. That broke me.
I
I have not bought a pack to just open since. Because it used to be fun. It's like, oh yeah, I open a pack.
Don't you
Maybe
get
I
a
get
sense
nice
of
card.
pride and accomplishment each time you open a booster pack?
I used to get a sense of like, ooh, I'm fucking rolling the little dice here. Maybe I'll get a neat thing.
I'd like if someone
Especially when I was
bought
learning
me
the
a
game and I
booster
was like,
pack.
oh cool, I'm looking at new cards as I go.
A booster pack to me is like a scratch card in that
a little bit.
it's a nice gift to get for someone. If
If
someone bought me
Yeah.
a booster pack, I'd be like, for like I don't know, my birthday, because I couldn't think of anything else to me. I'd be like, okay, you could have like got me a deck, I guess, but this works too.
It's the scale, yeah. Like it's you are with a booster pack. You're saying like here's the chance at something neat, which is your mileage varies on that.
Yeah.
Some people will be like, oh neat, and some people will be like, yeah, whatever. I don't know.
They sell them in uni games. I don't know how to feel about that. I feel
In
kind of
theory,
negative.
it's for like drafting and stuff.
Yeah.
No, they don't
In theory,
draft them.
I know.
It's
I don't know.
Couple
I just I don't
my
like
best
I don't
Magic
like
experiences
having-
were sealed leagues, and that time that 2012 or 13 committee just fucking like made a cube out of literal garbage chaff.
Hell yeah.
That was sick.
so.
we read the cards wrong for the whole thing.
What is going to be the preeminent role-playing games for uni games next year?
Okay,
D&D.
so it's D&D. Oh
Okay.
man, I don't know if you've listened to any of this podcast, Dave. I've had my.
A fair bit.
Have you listened to my D&D bit?
I agree with you. D&D isn't really my kettle of fish.
It's not even about that though. It's about that it's trying its best to make sure there are no other fish.
Yes. It is a bit bland.
Kettle of fish
It's not-
singular.
it's that it doesn't want there to be other options. Like
Yes.
actively, it's fighting against that, and that's terrifying to me.
Talking about other RPGs, I've started thinking about Delta Green today again because the screening we had was this horror comedy musical.
Describe Delta Green. Is that the book series you're talking about?
Delta
Or-
Green, the tabletop RPG, which may be based on a book series.
It's
it's
very Call of Cthulhu, but you're a little bit more military.
like
Okay.
government agents looking at the
Okay.
supernatural.
How is it different to Cthulhu text?
Cthulhu Tech's future.
Okay.
So this is modern day.
Maybe even like
Sometimes
modern
it's
day,
like
like 80s, 90s.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
that you're like the government is aware of fucked up shit going on. The spell that lets you commune with the deep ones, where they like come out of the ocean and come say hi, doesn't work anymore because the US military set up a beach and just called as many fucking fish people out as they could and just gunned them down until they were like, let's stop answering that phone.
You're like the CIA, but
Yeah.
instead of
You're-
information,
yeah,
you're looking at...
Delta Green's your secret organization for like dealing with spooky shit.
Okay.
And sometimes you're actually sometimes you're more or less above board. It's a game where you do get to roleplay like having a divorce with your wife because you keep missing your kids' birthdays to fight monsters. It's got some sick lethality mechanics. Like a big enough gun has a flat percentage chance when it rolls to hit you of just killing you outright. And that's pretty fun. Like it's got that Cthulhu grim, like you are up against things larger than you in a way that you can't handle, and sometimes that's just a guy now. I was in a Delta Green game. Early on, Merlin and I's characters had to basically, like, we got a call from our handler saying, like, which we talked to him about some things. We mentioned that we'd found a copy of a book called The King in Yellow that seemed to be coming up a lot. The King in Yellow is a terrifying, like, brain hazard. If you read this book, you are compelled to try and, like, share it and put on, like, it's a play.
Yeah.
You're compelled to try and share it or put on a performance, right? And so we get told, like, oh god, have you read it? And we're like, we haven't read it, but the other two members of the party have, and it's like, okay, go kill them. And we're like, oh, alright.
And you just
so
gotta
we
do
literally
that.
and like Ellie didn't think we would do it. But we take out the other two members of the party who are a fucking, like, an artist and a a fucking preschool teacher. To be fair, she's like she's like about to start showing it to the kids to put on performance. So we did the right thing, but we did have to roleplay taking our friend who we've known for like a while and who is like a lovely person out into the fucking woods and shooting them in the back of the head. We never. Okay, to be fair,
How
so
long did the game
Merlin's
go after that?
after that, quite a while. It's built for high
Okay.
lethality, right? It's a Call of Cthulhu.
Gotcha.
We I think finished that arc pretty quickly and then had a 20 or 30 year time skip, during which Merlin's character like gets significantly more fucked up. Like its relationship with his wife is getting worse. You know, it's all having there's problems there. Merlin's character's a cop, so like fucking. Like we had played into that. Like he sucked. My character started off as a young, hot firefighter and became an older, slightly balder firefighter.
As most firefighters do,
Yeah,
I'd imagine.
no, for sure. I actually ended that campaign with more sanity than I started with. Something that is completely unreasonable of me to have pulled off. And I only got shot once.
It's like my Black
Once
Crusade character where I try to not get any corruption.
Well, yeah, a little bit, right?
It's against the core conceit of the game.
Not quite. Like, you don't need to take insanity in a like, you can heal a bit every now and then
Okay.
by, like, showing yourself and the world that you have agency, that you can, like, you
You
can fight a problem.
go to your kid's birthday party.
So I just rolled really well on every time and to be fair, all of my downtime was like, I'm going to try and, like, sort my shit out.
Once you've stared into the fire, into that blaze burning in front of you,
Did almost die to fucking horrible puppet men, but that's how it is.
no horrible puppet men will scare you. In fact, they might make you feel a little better.
How often is Old Man Henderson brought up in that sort of thing?
Old Man Henderson.
Old Man Henderson?
He's an old
He's an old man
Cthulhu,
named Henderson.
player character from so the he had an issue where the GM was very you could do anything with your backstory if you wrote it down. And
God, that was like
he made
me
a character with
early in
after having I think
RPGs.
3 or 4 characters die in one session. He wrote a fucking essay of a backstory. Made a character called Old Man Henderson. His main motivation was that the cultists stole his lawn gnomes. Mochel them is stealing me wee men.
And
knew he
with the
talked
length
like
of his
that.
essay, he could copy and paste things into it at will.
Yeah, the GM didn't notice if he added to it. So it's like, yeah, no, he was a fucking championship hockey player.
The
in
whole
his youth.
time.
He ended up causing some fucking problems for the cult by basically just like he would just throw Molotovs at problems, and like it deals with a lot of problems. I'm not gonna lie, I built a firefighter because I was like, I want a character who won't just set fire to buildings to solve problems. And you know how I solved the first problem before the time skip?
By
Set the goddamn building on fire, didn't I?
you put it out, right? You
Smoke
I
put it
believe
out.
we set at least one other building on fire after the time skip.
You put it out,
And
right?
we did manage to... No! God, no. I had to ensure it didn't get put out. Because that building was cursed, man. It had to be done.
Fair enough. I'm thinking...
I'm paranoid enough that, like, I managed to figure out through what was happening that, like, oh, we're not out of the facility yet because, like, either our whole organization is compromised or we're in some kind of simulation at this point. But I also did manage to pull a strat so fucking bananas that Ellie was like, yeah, well, that would work if you weren't in a simulation. Which is, if you have the explosives, you can just charter a helicopter journey over any given hospital.
What the fuck? Cam learns once again that the bomber is the strongest.
Yeah, no, bombs OP, man. It was a mental facility doing some terrible, unethical things to all of us.
So you decided to solve it the ethical way by bombing it.
Yeah, man. It'll give them something to think about.
Or stop thinking about.
Yeah.
You remind me of how bad of an RPG player I was when I started playing RPGs. Because I wasn't I was playing D&D, and I didn't really have much fun. And I don't... That was probably more the system's fault than anyone's.
No,
really.
like,
But I was a stern... The player does whatever they want with their backstory. It's then the GM's job to pull that all together and, like...
Yeah, you gotta work with
and,
them on
like,
that.
incorporate it, and, like, it needs to be relevant a lot.
Were you perhaps chaotic evil?
No,
John's a very active player. It's that John was basically giving the GM a lot of work and being like, I expect this to all be relevant.
I was too much of an active player.
Yeah.
In that I had...
It's great to work
I
with.
had both my own, like, Mercer syndrome of, like, I'd listen to a D&D podcast. It wasn't Critical Role, but I listened to a D&D podcast and was like, this is how DMing is.
Yeah.
And the second of, I also had, this is what my character would do syndrome. Famously, my first ever session of not my first ever session. My first ever session of...
You built a loner.
I built a loner and
problem
then
again.
was introduced to the party, and then it was like, well, the quest wasn't here. I'm going to go back to my house because that's what my player would do. It's up to you to fucking figure out. Give me a good enough reason to stay in this goddamn party, you bitch-ass GM. I'm doing nothing for you.
I remember that is a lot of work.
It's something. It's a mental hurdle you got to get past. But like, I'm growing as a player still.
Yeah.
I'm trying right now. I'm really focusing on like trying not to always take the mechanically best fucking option.
I hate mechanically best option. Too many of my friends who play in D&D, and by too many I mean like two maybe, care too much about the mechanics, and I fucking hate that. I start off my character by thinking of like a funny voice, and then building backwards.
Or a theme or something.
Yeah, funny voice or a theme, and then I build backwards into how does this work mechanically in terms of background, and then how does this work mechanically in terms of
I don't
like,
mean
skills.
in terms of like I'm building a powerful build, although I do like to build a build that at least has consistency and works, but it's more that like I do have a problem where I see a lot of situations as puzzles I can solve. And I will try and solve... Yeah, well, they are in a way, but it's like, I'm always like, okay, here's the most optimal play for me to make here.
But you're not doing what your character would do.
Yeah,
are you saying you're trying to...
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And the GM's attempts to avoid that, for instance, like a reactor override.
Oh, no, that one was written in, man.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Oh.
You were trying to do a thing, but that was like... You started earlier than they expected, but the reactor override was just going to happen.
Okay.
I think I have the opposite problem of... I want to express my character so much that I'm like, well, my character's a naive kid, so a way I can express that is by doing things that are detrimental. But also, that's not fun if I just keep purposefully sabotage.
Oh, if it goes too far, sure, but like
my character needs to, I don't know, it needs to express my character and like sometimes fuck up, especially because my character is like a naive kid.
No,
in the Lancer campaign we're playing.
Yeah, it's
but
actually,
also, like, I need to contribute sometimes. And if I have a thought of, like, maybe this is what's going on, I'm allowed to, like, add that.
Look, as a character, I'm absolutely disgusted with your actions, but as a player, I'm quite entertained.
Yeah, no. I want to bring up a friend of mine, friend of the podcast, 16. They're one of my favorite fucking role players. They love to suffer, right? They will build a build where their character is going to have a terrible time, and they will do this on purpose.
Didn't 16 quite entertainingly change the whole arc of a vampire game we're in
Flaws make the characters.
Maybe.
with her build. Being
Oh
so
yeah,
powerful.
no, yeah.
was
16 took the most overpowered fucking build of all time in that vampire
That was
game.
hilarious.
That's so out of character for 16 too,
Yeah.
right? So I've seen in Adeptus Evangelion, there's a drawback you can take at character gen called it's basically it's called weird physiology. I forget exactly what it's called. Basically, you get an allergy to something common, and it can be something like very common, and it's a mild allergy or whatever.
Bees.
And it can be something weird, right? It can be
Grass.
bees. It can be. I've seen in the first campaign
Peanuts.
I was in
Peanut
2012.
allergies are terrible affliction
One of
to
the
cope
members of the
with.
party took inhuman biology. That's what it's called. Inhuman biology condiments, and so condiments would fucking kill her outright. It was like a specifically like built-in flaw for that character. But so 16 took was like a rich heiress and had inhuman biology unfiltered water,
Oh,
which
that's
is grim,
fucking
right?
fantastic.
And didn't tell anyone in character because why would she? Like the character, she just so we went to the fucking beach, and my character fucking like she's like trying to relax in the sand, whatever.
Yeah.
and she's a rich uppity heiress. And I'm somewhat of a man
Is
of the
this
people.
consumption of water or exposure
Well,
to
I think we're about to find out.
Get her with a bucket of salt water, bud.
Okay.
And she screams like she's dying because she might be. I believe it would have scarred her physically forever. She underwent experimental surgery to not be scarred, which killed her. And then the clone that they sent in scarred herself a little bit to make it look legit.
Jesus Christ.
Party kills, here we go. Cam 1.
How did your character feel about the fact he just killed the
Well,
motherfucker?
so initially I was horrified. I was like, oh god, I fucked up, right? What happened? That was just a bucket of fucking salt water from the beach that we were at. But like, it felt fucking terrible. My character had taken early delusions. So my
Oh.
character straight up like thought that people didn't die when they were killed.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned this character to me.
He was, and this is part of my issue with like I love to take a drawback and be like, how can I make this not a problem for me? And it's like, yes, my character does not believe death is real. Saw another character get like torn out of their giant robot and like eaten by said giant robot, and was like, yeah, I expect to see them in a week. But the thing is that I was always right. And
you
so,
had like a deck of cards?
You had a
was it?
deck of cards which I would see the people in when they were dead. My parents were in there. Winslet had killed
really
my
cool.
parents. They were dead. But yeah, so like the thing is she did come back and was like mostly fine, and I was like, I'm sorry. Like I do feel very bad, but like I had no way of knowing that would happen. That was, as far as I was aware, a harmless prank, bro.
This reminds me of a lore fix, or like a fix I did to a kind of problem with the D&D campaign I played in high school, which is I was like the only person that campaign who stuck with one character throughout. We had like players moving around. We had character deaths, and a lot of people just switching characters all the time because they didn't like their character anymore. So how does my character react to constantly the people they are with dying? And I was playing a lawful good drow. His name was Joey Darks. He was quite upbeat. I'm trying to remember how he talked. He had like a stutter. He was like, "Hey guys, it's me, Joey Darks. Your
Yeah.
buddy."
No,
Yeah.
I could tell. Yeah.
Everyone
Grim
hated him
time.
because he talked weird. But he like grew up in the Underdark, had a terrible time, and was like, I'm not gonna be like the other drow, because drow are like typically evil in this setting at least. He went and like saved the village, so that's his hometown now. They were all like, thanks for helping us out, you're not that bad. And he's going around being lawful good, trying to like change the reputation and whatnot, and just being a kind of upbeat, nice guy, lawful good, or neutral good, or whatever. I never play evil characters.
It's hard to do.
It's hard.
Yes, hard.
It's hard to do, or it's far too easy. And if it's far too easy for you, you need to have a look
Okay.
at how you're playing
So-
those games.
Dave's a fucking wizard with this. Dave, your Zinch build is one of my favorite builds I've seen in anything. Can we go into that?
Can I finish?
Yeah, no, finish Joey.
Basically, the way I was like, well, I haven't actually been role playing all these deaths, and I probably should, because how is my character gonna react to all this death and whatnot? And I was just like, well, he lived in the Underdark, so he's just used to it by now. He just expects all, like, the people he cares about is close to die, and it no longer phases him. Which I was very proud of, because one, it made sense, and two, it fixed the problem of, like, me not role-playing any of that.
So this is Dave's Dark Crusade? Black Crusade?
Black Crusade, I think.
Black Crusade character. So this is like, Black Crusade, you play as characters who are already too far off the Chaos deep end. They're evil. Generally, a Chaos character has three ways they end. They die, they ascend to demonhood, or they become a hideous spawn. Dave?
There's a fourth option that people often forget. It's known as the path of mediocrity. It's where you never fail sufficiently that you become a spawn, but you never succeed sufficiently that you become a demon prince. So the aim of the character is to always make sure that the party succeeds, just not very well.
So you just want to make sure that you never go anywhere. You just stay at the rank you are forever.
Our superiors can't respect us, but they also shouldn't put us on a suicide mission.
Yes, and it's the constant balancing act of making sure the party doesn't know you're doing this, because they are all on board for
You're
the chaos
playing
train.
so many people. Why?
That's how it is with Tzeentch. Tzeentch, the thing is that if you get too good at even the path of mediocrity, you're tricking enough motherfuckers, right?
Yes.
Because Tzeentch is the god of trickery.
Oh, okay.
So he's very good at it. But you do have to trick Tzeentch, and that's hard.
Yes. I think also with your character death thing, I think I played, it was the...
your ODST. Yes, no, this was great.
So I had a similar problem, but it wasn't with other characters in the campaign. It was in the game we were running, the system.
So it's based on Only War, where to make the squad feel bigger, because you're playing as
You had
soldiers,
dudes.
you have a separate secondary guy, a comrade. Who
Yeah,
just
you
helps
had a
out.
little guy.
Now, I was the demolitions expert and had a minor problem that I couldn't succeed in a demolitions check without blowing myself up.
Was that type 2 daving?
That's type 2 daving.
We'll get into those.
This had the effect of killing my comrade every second session.
To be fair, your first comrade survived a very long time. He survived until first contact.
Okay, yeah. So my first comrade, so my buddy, was with me for half the game. At which point things started going wrong, and my character would lose comrade after comrade after comrade.
Well, because after the first one, you just
It all comes
didn't
tumbling
care
down.
about them.
Well-
you were throwing them away.
No, I started trying to care for the first one.
Yeah, it's true. But
And
he
then he
died
died.
coincidentally.
He died coincidentally.
And the lesson was to never love anything ever
Yes,
again.
the second one, I was... Well, if he lives, he lives. If he dies, he dies. He died shortly after that. At which point, my character's like, why am I bothering with this anymore? And so after taking out another two comrades, Cam came up to me and said, Dave, you should probably change your character class to the one that doesn't have a comrade anymore. Cause...
Well, yeah, there's the Stormtrooper, which is like you're like a specialist soldier at this point. You're like very good at what you do, which Dave's character was. But yeah, you don't have a comrade anymore. They've stopped giving these to you, man.
to represent the fact that my
Comrade
character...
privilege is revoked.
my character has gotten so jaded and so hard to work with.
Well, yeah, because this whole party was hard to work with. This was the asshole squad. But because you were actively at that point throwing them away.
Have we come up for a team name for our Lancer campaign yet?
We'll get there.
Okay. What are the levels of daving? We're like 1.5 hours. We're like 90 minutes into this podcast. We need to cover levels of daving.
Okay.
So type 1 daving, these have been generated over years. Type 1 daving is when you are asked to roll a specific set of dice, and you will roll the wrongest fucking dice possible.
Scatter dice are preferred. But
Yeah,
not-
it's like
not
Dave roll
necessary.
D100, and he'll roll like a scatter dice and a fucking D4.
Oh,
It's
I'm
like, where'd you
following-
even get those, man?
I'm following in your footsteps by constantly trying to roll D4s whenever the game asks for D3s.
Oh, look,
I'm like
that's
close enough,
understandable.
like +1, ±1, you know.
Yeah, type 2 is being terrible at what you're supposed to be good at.
Yeah. Every time Dave hard specs into something, he cannot succeed in it to save his life. Dave's character's demolitions roll was like 90 plus. Well, sorry, 90, like, if he rolled 90 or less, he would succeed. Or maybe even better than that, right?
I did not succeed in throwing a grenade after the second session.
Yeah.
Anything more
Jesus.
complicated than that was...
Yeah, and he would be like spending a fucking fate point to reroll. He'd be at bonuses. He'd be doing everything. Would not succeed. Really funny. Really fucking funny.
And
Like the fucking brute chieftain fight where you personally killed more fucking ODSTs than I'd ever killed. In a cascading demolitions check. Carrying all the explosives you could.
And the next kind of daving is the GM suggests a scenario, and you say, "That's not logical. This is what should happen," and you make the encounter
make it far harder.
significantly more dangerous.
No, they'd put artillery there, and I go, "Oh yeah, you're right. Put some artillery there then."
At which point, the party usually thanks you for your great foresight.
Oh yeah, everyone loves it when you type 3 Dave.
Yes. And this has been done repeatedly, and he just hasn't.
Honestly, that happens enough that I've made it a whole thing where sometimes I'll be like, I need you guys to build a fortification. And, like, to be fair, like, you build a fortification, and sometimes you'll get to defend it, sometimes you will have to assault it.
Yeah.
Sometimes both.
Just build okay, you need to build a fortification for your team. You build the fortification.
Like, as in, like, out of character, I was like...
Time to attack it.
No, straight up, I was like, out of character, I was like, alright, you guys build a map. Build a thing to defend. And they did, and then they dropped into it, and it was already occupied. And they had to take it and then defend it.
Yes! That's so good.
And it's like, yeah, now they would have to think, if I ask anyone to build a map, they have to think about, like, alright, how do I make it good but have weaknesses? How do I build a fortification I can exploit if I need to, but that Cam can't necessarily?
That's so smart. Oh, that's so fun.
It is fun. I recommend doing this to
Is there a
people.
Type 4 daving, or is there only 3? Is it like radiation?
Oh, Type 4 has, I think, been, like, floated here and there. I don't think there was a hard one.
No,
I think it
haven't
might
done
be
anything.
just being fucking bad at perception checks on purpose.
You have mentioned that to me a lot.
You have
Let
just
us
sort of
should
built
be
into
crowned
that.
Type 4 daving being
Nah.
bad at perception. Okay,
'Cause
we'll stick with alpha, beta, and gamma daving.
That's
Deviation.
Not, that's not an involuntary behaviour. That's me.
something you've done on purpose now, yeah.
Yeah, the others are.
Having a bad perception's fun.
I feel like pointing out things that then make it harder is also voluntary.
No, he does it without thinking. And everyone goes, Dave, what the fuck? And he goes, oh, shit. Because it's his problem, too.
Yeah, my characters have died to this before.
Do we have any final thoughts
We
for a
do have to
podcast
put, like,
that
a
is
week
finally
aside.
not like 2 hours long?
We got to put a fucking week aside to play 5th Frontier War at some point.
I'd be
Yes.
down.
Sign up on the 5th Frontier War. Do your part for the Empire.
I think
I'm doing my part.
I think we should just try and get like
Learning
3 or
the
4
rules.
people, though. I don't think we should try and make it bigger than that, at least to learn.
Yeah.
But yeah. Alrighty.
Dave, what's your final thought? Fuck, I need a final thought.
I've never had a thought in my life. I can't help you here.
Down with the government? Why not?
Do you mean down with big society?
Down with big
Big
society.
society.
What does squeezed middle mean? That's my final thought.
Cam's final thought is the emoji.
Oh, native trends in the Senate.
It's that fucked up version, like the deep fried one with the big eyes. Hold on, let me find it.
Yes, we're going to really see that on the
Yeah, no, they'll know.
audio.